Most men think winning is about being stronger, more dominant, more aggressive, more reactive. But in reality, the man who stays calm always wins. Not immediately, not loudly, but consistently. Because in every interaction, there is pressure. Someone challenges you. Someone disrespects you. Someone tries to get a reaction out of you. And in that moment, most men fail. Not because they don't know what to say, but because they react. They raise their voice. They defend themselves too quickly. They let emotion take control. And the moment that happens, they lose. Not the argument, the position. Because when you react under pressure, you show that something moved you, and the moment something can move you, it can control you. That's the rule. People don't respect who wins arguments. They respect who stays solid during them. Watch two men in the same situation. One gets triggered. His tone changes. His energy shifts. The other stays the same. Same voice, same posture, same pace. And without saying much, you already know who's in control. Because calmness is not passive. It's pressure. The kind of pressure that doesn't break. The kind that doesn't respond to chaos. And that's what most men don't understand. They think being calm means being weak. Silent, passive, avoiding. But real calmness is controlled power. It's the ability to stay exactly the same, while everything around you tries to move you. And the man who can do that doesn't need to prove anything. Because the moment pressure appears, everyone reveals themselves, and the one who doesn't react is the one who wins. Most men don't lose because they lack control. They lose because they lose it at the wrong moment. Because staying calm is easy when nothing is happening. No pressure, no tension, no challenge. But that's not where it matters. It matters in the exact moment something tries to move you. Someone raises their voice. Someone disrespects you. Someone tries to provoke a reaction. And suddenly, everything changes. Your body tightens. Your tone shifts. Your mind speeds up. And if you're not aware, you react. Instantly. That's where most men give everything away. Not in big failures, but in small reactions under pressure. Because those reactions reveal something, what affects you, what you can't ignore, what controls you, and once that's visible, it becomes leverage. Now people know where to push, how to trigger you, how to move you. That's why calmness is not just a personality trait, it's a position. The man who stays calm removes leverage. There's nothing to press, nothing to provoke, nothing to use. And that creates uncertainty, because now, people don't know how to handle you. They can't predict your reaction. They can't control the outcome. And when people lose that control, they become careful. They slow down. They think more. They adjust. That's the shift. Most men think being calm is about controlling emotions, but it's deeper than that. It's about not being owned by the moment. Because the moment you are owned by it, you are reacting inside it. But the man who stays calm stays outside of it. He sees the pressure, but doesn't enter it. And that distance is what gives him control. Because now, he's not responding automatically. He's choosing, and choice is what separates control from reaction. That's why calm men don't need to dominate conversations. They don't need to raise their voice. They don't need to prove anything, because the moment pressure appears, they remain the same. And in that sameness, they win. At a certain point, this stops being about behavior. It becomes about what you're anchored to. Because the reason most men can't stay calm is not because they're emotional. It's because they're attached. Attached to being right, attached to being respected immediately, attached to how they're perceived in the moment. And that attachment is what creates reaction. A man hears something he disagrees with, and he reacts. Not because it matters long term, but because it challenges his position right now. A man gets disrespected, and he reacts. Not because he lost control, but because he feels like he has to fix it instantly. That urgency is what breaks calmness, because the moment you feel like you must respond, you're no longer choosing, you're reacting. Now look at the man who stays calm. He's not less aware, he's not passive, he's not ignoring what's happening, he just isn't attached to the moment. He doesn't need to win instantly, he doesn't need to correct everything. He doesn't need to prove himself right there, and because of that, he has space. Space to think, space to observe, space to decide. That space is what most men don't have. They live inside the moment, inside the pressure, inside the emotion, inside the reaction, and that's why they get pulled. But the man who is anchored stays outside of it. He sees the situation clearly, not through emotion, not through ego, but through control. And that changes how he moves. He doesn't react to every word. He doesn't engage in every tension. He doesn't respond to every challenge. He chooses, and that choice is what makes him dangerous. Because now, he's not predictable, not emotional, not reactive, not easy to read. He becomes something else, measured, and measured men are hard to beat because they don't play at the speed of the moment. They slow everything down, and when things slow down, the man with control takes over. At the highest level, this has nothing to do with staying calm as a behavior. It's about who you are under pressure, because anyone can look composed when nothing is happening. But pressure reveals everything. It strips away the surface. It removes the performance. It exposes what actually controls you. And for most men, that's where they lose. Not because they don't know what to do, but because something inside them takes over. The need to respond, the need to defend, the need to correct how they're being seen, and the moment that need appears, control disappears. Because now you're no longer acting from choice. You're reacting from pressure. And pressure doesn't create power. It exposes weakness. That's why calmness is not about controlling what you show. It's about removing what controls you. The man who stays calm doesn't suppress reactions. He simply doesn't have the same urgency to act on them. He feels the same things: disrespect, tension, challenge. But none of it forces him to move. And that's the difference. Because the moment something forces you to act, you've already lost your position. Now the situation is leading you. Now the interaction is controlling you. Now you're playing inside someone else's frame. But the man who stays calm never enters that frame. He sees the pressure, but doesn't step into it. He hears the challenge, but doesn't rush to answer it. He feels the tension, but doesn't try to remove it immediately. And that restraint creates something most men never build. Wait, because now there is no reaction to predict, no emotion to trigger, no behavior to manipulate. And when people can't move you, they stop trying. They slow down. They become more careful. They start measuring themselves around you, not because you said anything, but because nothing they do affects you the same way. That's where authority comes from, not from dominating others, but from being unaffected by them. Now here's the truth most men avoid. You don't need to win every interaction. You don't need to prove anything in the moment. You don't need to respond to everything, because the man who reacts to everything ends up controlled by everything. But the man who stays calm chooses his moments, chooses his words, chooses his actions, and that choice is what gives him control. Because now he's not moving with the situation, he's deciding when to move. And when you decide when to move, you control the pace, you control the interaction, you control the outcome. That's why calm men always win. Not because they are stronger, not because they are louder, but because they are not owned by the moment. And in a world where most men are constantly reacting, the one who stays calm becomes the one no one can control. And the man no one can control is the one everyone adjusts to.